Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to World in Flames 2, a mod for Darkest Hour. Now, this is, I believe, the Apocalypse version. I may have forgotten to update it, but I do believe it is the Apocalypse version. So, we are going to be playing as the Japanese Empire. The Empire of Japan, before anybody goes on. I was told about that the other day. The reason why is the fact that the Empire of Japan in Hearthfire 4, just Hearthfire 4 in general, is just... Oh, God, it's like there's some good parts, but there's a lot of bad parts. Like the fact that I was able to roll over China without even fully understanding what the hell I was doing, with very little... just crazy. Absolutely crazy. So I'm going to try and play a game that should actually be a challenge. I'm going to have Tech Team take over, actually, just for the fact of trying to coerce people into fighting or, well, do my research on me. I'm sure they'll be quite compliant at gunpoint. Bum bum. Ma da da da. Right then, so we have the change in geopolitical situation in the east then. Let's take a look at this then, shall we? Move this out of the way. I really do need to turn this off. There we go. Right, okay. The change in geopolitical situation. In 1914, during the Taisho democracy era, Japan enjoyed relatively warm relations with her large neighbours, China and Russia. The Foreign Ministry worked under the doctrine of Pan-Asian unity and supported democracy in China. Backing both northern and southern governments, Japan too signed a treaty of friendship and alliance with the White Russian government prior to its collapse. After the rise of communists in Russia, however, and the attempted assassination of Emperor Showa, Japan increasingly became militaristic after suffering one defeat after another. Abroad, a friendly white regime in Russia is no more. The Japanese Bagbayang Republic has collapsed too, replaced by an anti-Japanese government. There are threats by the United States to cut off vital resources necessary for our nation if we do not abandon our former sphere of influence. Japan increasingly finds itself isolated and surrounded by enemies on all sides, as the West becomes increasingly hostile. The economic boom caused by the wartime exports during the Great War has largely faded away, while the Japanese economy did not collapse due to the stimulus program. Did not collapse due to a stimulus program funded by strong national treasury reserves. The high inflation brought about wartime boom became a major source of social tension. The military increasingly fields support among the populace who seek to restore Japanese hegemony abroad. It may not be too late to save democracy, as holdouts do remain in the government, but it becomes less with each passing day. So that was a little bit hard to read. I always find the font a little bit difficult to read due to the size of it. I wish it was a little bit bigger. That'd be great for me. Right then, so let's take a look at our empire so far. So of course we do have Manchuria over here, Manchukuo. We do have Shanghai, which is going to be interesting. Now, what am I going to try and do in this campaign? Well, it really depends. I mean, if I can avoid war with the United States of America, then I will try to. I'd like to try and avoid war with the Allies entirely. If I could take over China, that'd be good. And then perhaps launch a war against the Soviet Union once they're distracted. Try to seize Siberia. Try and basically take control of Asia like that way. But if it does come to war with the Allies, inevitably it will mean war with the United States of America as well. So there's not much choice in that regard. We can either back down and accept our slow decline, or we can rise above and surface above the water once more as a new empire. That being the Empire of Japan. So we have some ships being constructed over here then. So just going to close off some of these. I'm not a fan of these, like, little ones here. I mean, I'm going to leave these guys in here because they're already been done. We have the battleship Yamashiro. Okay. So we need to turn up the sound first. Right, there we go. That's a little bit odd. Right then, industrial will be hugely important. Construction is far too ahead of time. We can of course go for agriculture, which I shall. There we go. These are the standard openings, really. It is 1933, so we do have a few years to try and prepare. 1937 is go against China, so we'll have to try and build up for that. Right. Mounted infantry would be fantastic. But that would be a bit of a luxury. I'm not going to lie, it's definitely a luxury. I'm going to favour submarines. I do feel like if we have submarines, we may be quite well protected. That and the fact we'll be able to cut off the enemy's naval supply lines, their logistics, I should say. Okay, artillery. Okay. So we can withdraw from the League of Nations, that'll be decent in the future. I do need this economic recovery policy. That does really help a hell of a lot. It does cost us in the fact that we need about 500 cash. What do we need here? Less than 100 money. Okay. So I'm going to let this go on here. I want to get the economic recovery policy underway. Right, there we go. Now I'm going to go towards... I mean, I can go towards centralized planning. Now that increases the amount of IC I have and resource production, which is actually going to be quite bloody important. Also increases the gearing bonus, which is going to be incredibly important. Right then. Well, we'll set up things here. So I'm going to start building some industry in Nagano. We won't really be able to afford much in the way of industry. Some industry in Kyoto as well. Now, let's see. I'm going to turn off reinforcements. I'm going to need the manpower to build up new units. Turn off upgrades for now. Rightio. So we're going to need to set a production run of infantry. There we go. So that's 18.8 IC there. Now I could attach some artillery, but that would of course increase the production cost quite a lot. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have some artillery going. I'll just have one run of it. I'll just have that go off into the infinite, basically. And let's see. I could add cavalry. Now, cavalry does have free soft attack, which is actually fairly decent. Engineers would be fairly bloody handy. Yeah, helps crossing rivers, making the process quicker, and reduces disorganization. I do believe they have bonuses against like fortified positions too, so that's also pretty good. So I'll get some of that going then. And then we'll have... Let's see. Only 94 days for an armoured carver. That's rather interesting. Right. So that would increase the amount of organisation, reduces softness, decreases vulnerability on defensive and offensive. Consumes a little bit of fuel, so that's something that we'd have to bear in mind. Now, everything kinda consumes fuel. Kinda. Tankette. I think I'll go for the cavalry. It's not going to consume fuel in the end, and I'm going to need my fuel. Okay, so we don't have that much IC remaining. I'm going to have some convoy runs. Going to need convoys. Okay, we get 2 convoy runs going. We are working on the next lot of submarines, so that's good to know. We do have some destroyers here. I'm going to have 10 runs of destroyers now. We'll go for about 5. It's going to be difficult to try and gear this. Right, just put that like that. It doesn't really matter the exact number. I would like to have some battleships on the go. That'd be handy. Again, this costs quite a bit of IC. It does take a fucking long time, especially if I was to build that many. 1,533 days, that's a long time. Right, a Margi class battlecruiser. 1,312 days. So what we'll have to do then is most likely rely upon the heavy cruisers. Right. That's still 1,000 days, but it's only 1.1 IC. Which is decent. They're not obviously as powerful as actual full battleships, but if we can try to support them with actual carriers, that would be great news. Okay. Right, we'll start some destroyers and some carriers going then. Okay. So that's going to be decent enough. I mean, we'll have the infantry divisions going. We are going to need Marines, but Marines is going to be something of a bloody luxury, really. A lot of things will be a luxury. It's just generally how it's going to go. Right, so we're going to start off by increasing control of Manchukuo. I really hate having to micromanage the AI. It's a pain in the arse to micromanage my own troops. I don't need to micromanage theirs. Alright. Okay, so we're going to march these troops down here. And we'll start off things in a moment. Now, how many ships and just how many divisions do we have in total? That's something to find out. Right, here we go. So we have 53 army divisions, 93 naval, so ships, or flotillas, that sort of thing, and it's about 900 planes-ish. 35 infantry divisions, 5 cavalry, 5 marines, 1 garrison, 2 HQ, and 5 militia. If I can get those militias and have them upgraded to infantry, that'd be quite nice. Yep, that's good. Right, okay. Obviously, your supply usage is the greatest by the 30 infantry divisions. That's rather odd. Never mind. All usage. Right, so we have 5 battleships, 39 light cruisers, 4 battle cruisers, 19 destroyer groups, 2 carriers, 2 light carriers, 12 submarines, 1 heavy submarine, 9 transports. Okay. So the greatest amount of supply is being used by the light cruisers, which is interesting. Oil is, again, the light cruisers. I wonder why the light cruisers are apparently draining the most resources. Perhaps it's because they're a flotilla? I doubt they're a flotilla. No, it's just a single light cruisers. That's interesting. Right, that is indeed interesting. I'm just going to combine the entire navy and then I'm going to have it basically moved here. And we'll sort it out. Okay, at least in this fashion, we'll be able to get things organised. I do really want to try and make a decent navy this time around. So we'll just have it going along here while things start ticking away. And then we'll keep on going. Now, yep, here we go, ship conversions. Now, I do believe we will be able to... Yes, right. Battleships and battlecruisers can be converted to aircraft carriers. Heavy cruisers and light cruisers and transport can be converted to light aircraft carriers and escort aircraft carriers. Okay. So with the ships in harbour, when they all arrive, when we have the entire Imperial Japanese fleet, we'll decide. I'm going to break off the... Right, here we go. The 5 Ministers' Conference. Today, the Japanese Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, Finance Minister, Army Minister, and Navy Minister met to discuss the future geopolitical agenda of Japan. The main issue was conflict between the Southern Expansion Doctrine, a strategy favoured by the Navy, and that envisioned a Southeast Asia and Pacific region under Japanese domination, and the Northern Expansion Doctrine, which proposed a preemptive strike against the Soviet Union, with territorial expansion in Mongolia and Siberia. Historically, this Southern Expansion was chosen with a resolution call for peaceful advance. Well... The thing is, we've got to wait for Germany to kick down the rotten front doors of the Soviet Union. We can't take the Soviet Union on. There's really no way. I believe it was, historically... I can't remember when it was now. I can't remember who said it. But I think it was, like, estimated for Japan to take on the Soviet Union, they would need to wait till the 1950s to actually be able to take them on. So we're going to expand southwards. At least then we can take the resources of China and Asia. I'm going to try and avoid outright conflict with the Allies, or basically Britain and France, the colonial empires at the moment. It depends really. Who is actually in the Allies? Interestingly, the Netherlands is not. It would be rather interesting to perhaps try and launch a preemptive war against the Netherlands. Against the Dutch, basically. If I could seize control of Indonesia early... Of course, that might fuck with the events, but if I could do that... That would be rather large. I don't know if it would be possible. And I could take the Netherlands on now. And win. Okay. The Nationalists are fighting the Communists. Hardly surprising. I could prolong terms of service, but that wouldn't really help me. Right, here we go. Imperial China. The Tangu... truce or Tangu? On May 22nd, 1933, Japanese and Chinese delegations met at Tianjin to negotiate a ceasefire. As the Japanese had achieved that objective and the Chinese nationalists were tied up in the war against the communists, both sides wanted an end to the conflict. The Japanese demands were severe. A demilitarized zone was to be set up south of the Great Wall, with the wall itself coming under Japanese control. Bloody hell. No KMT military was allowed in the demilitarized zone, which was to be policed by a lightly armed Peace Preservation Corps, from which anti-Japanese volunteers were excluded. Okay, there we go. So this is the autonomous zone. Right, they grant access to me and China. Okay. Yep, I'm aware. Right, I might go for the currency. Oh, we gain 1,000. Well, that's beautiful, actually. So we're going to go for the economic recovery policy. There we go. So go from 103 to 121. Fantastic. That should make things possible. Yes, there we go. Now, we do have the opportunity to withdraw from the League of Nations. So what we're going to do here then is we're going to look for a good minister. Right, so 5% IC, 5 energy, 5 metal, 5 rare. That's very nice. Foreign Ministry. Minister of Security. Okay. So right there, we could shave off some more consumer goods. Okay, so that brings us down from 23.56 to 22.32, which is a big difference. So we'll draw from the League of Nations. We go towards more interventionism. And more towards interventionism leads us... Yep, so we can have a better intelligence network. There we go. We have withdrawn from the League of Nations, and we've come out a little bit stronger there overall. Right, the Type 93 torpedo Longlands. The Type 93 was a 61cm, 24-inch diameter torpedo of the Imperial Japanese Navy, launched from surface ships. In Japanese reference, the term Senso Girorai. Oxygen torpedo is also used in reference to its propulsion system. It was by far the most advanced torpedo in the world at the time. In the early surface battles of 1942 to 43, Japanese destroyers and cruisers were able to launch their torpedoes from about 20 kilometers, so 11 nautical miles and 12 miles, at the unsuspecting Allied warships attempted to close the gun range. Allied warships expected that if torpedoes were used, they would be fired from no more than 10 kilometers, 5.4 nautical miles, and 6.2 miles, their own typical torpedo range. The many torpedo hits suffered by Allied warships in such engagements led to their officers believing that torpedoes had been fired undetected by Japanese submarines operating in concert with the surface warships. Right, so we gain more naval attack for our light cruisers, and the destroyers gain a hell of a lot more too, and submarines as well. That's pretty fucking cool. Righto. Yes, if we can keep the supplies above, that'd be good. Okay. Move over here. Gonna move the Marines. There we go. Right. Surely that's not the entire Navy. Do it. Right, rebase over here. Right, Visengoruku. Earthquake. Ugh. Let's get rid of that descent. I might enable 3-year conscription. Obviously that's going to boost our descent by 3. It sets mobilization to 6. Okay. There we go. We've gained quite a lot more in the way of manpower there, which is good. We'll be able to build up for longer without having to do anything. And if I can get the descent out of the way to begin with now, that'll be great news. Okay, it's going down by quite a good amount. Okay. So we have Akagi and Kaga, Nagato, Mitsu, Issei, Hyuga, Fuso. The battlecruisers Kongo, Haruna, Kirishima, Hai. Okay. Now, I'm going to probably convert... Right, see these old heavy cruisers over here? They'd make prime conversions. Yes, there's quite a few of them. So that's 7 potential ships to convert over there. So we'll have them sent to Tokyo Harbor. Okay. So I'm going to split them up. Okay. Move them around. Make the most of the docks. There we go. And one to Busan. Okay, so we can have it upgraded to a convoy, a escort carrier or a light carrier. Now it's only 76 over here for the escort carrier, though we could go for the light carrier. Now light carriers are obviously similar to their name, they are carriers but light. So, we have the convoy escort carriers. 2 sea attack, 1 convoy attack. They don't benefit from the fact that they can have carrier air groups, while light CVLs can, which is important. So yeah, you can see that. I mean, they don't gain sub-attack, while as the convoy escort carriers, escort carriers, they do have rather bloody high sub-attack, which is really, really quite interesting. So, that's why I've started to research anti-submarine warfare. If I can convert these babies into light carriers, we could try to boost the total number of carriers that we have as the Empire of Japan, and try to ultimately make our navy fairly decent. So I think that's going to be the idea. Then again, I could do with more escort carriers. So I think I'll convert 5 to light carriers, and then 3 to escort carriers. Right, so that's what, 3? 4. 5? Right, where's the other one? God damn those seagulls. 6, 7. I think. Is that every one of them? Okay. Oh, that noise is getting really annoying. Oh, okay, must have miscounted that. Never mind. Okay. Get the next level of anti-submarine warfare equipment. Can start building some of that soon then. Okay. Cavalry can move over here. Damn it. We'll swap out the HQ, then I'll have the HQ just in generally, well, in general nearby. Okay, there we go. Right. Rockets. And jets, basically. There we go. Right, let's organize. So one carrier is most likely enough. Right, these are tier 6 battleships. I need to develop, like, different fleets. I need to have two, basically, hunter-killer fleets, I suppose you could call them. And then we need to have some convoy raiding fleets, some just general things like that. Right. So we have Nagato and Nakagi. Isi. Hyuga. Yamashiro can be attached to the new fleet as well, so we'll take Kongo. Right. Haruna. Take... We'll take Hosho. Aoba. Nugosara, Futaka, Kako. Right, actually, put them there. Then we'll take some light cruisers. Ibari. Yora, Kinu, Sendai. Abukuma, Naka, Kuma, Natori, Izuzu, Nagara. Okay. Some destroyer flotillas. How many is that? That's 3. Let's take 2 more destroyer flotillas. Actually... Another 2 destroyer flotillas. And then... 2 submarine flotillas. Grand Admiral Shima. Oh, is this the, kind where we need to have only 18 ships? Okay. Right. Yep, 18. Right, okay. It's going to make it a little bit difficult to sort out every fleet, but hey, we know what we're dealing with now. Okay. Kaga. Musu. Fuso. Notoro. Kirishima. Hai. Yoko. Hagoro. And... Okay. I'll take a submarine flotilla then. This one's more towards the light.